The shuttle doors hissed open as Commander Jake Harrison stepped onto the crystal platform, the main meeting place of the Galactic Council. His black uniform boots clicked against the translucent floor that shimmered with rainbow lights. Behind him, 2 Earth officers carried large data pads and holographic projectors. Karen Williams, Earth's top science advisor, walked beside him, her face set in determination. The chamber was huge, bigger than any stadium on Earth. Thousands of different alien species sat in circular rows. Some had multiple eyes. Others had tentacles instead of limbs, and a few looked like walking crystals that glowed with inner light. The air tasted metallic and thin, and Harrison could feel the artificial gravity pulling slightly different than Earth's. Members of the Galactic Council, Harrison began, his voice amplified by the chamber's systems. I bring urgent news about the Thranox Empire. A ripple of chittering sounds went through the crowd. Ambassador Zytok stood up from his floating platform. He was tall, with 6 arms and skin that looked like polished metal. His translator made his voice boom across the chamber. The junior species speaks again of military matters, Zytok said with clear contempt. How many years has Earth been in space? 50? 100? We have kept peace for 10,000 solar cycles. Harrison felt his jaw clench but kept his voice steady. We have spent 3 years studying the Thranox fleet movements. Their expansion pattern is clear. They're moving toward the core systems. Based on our calculations, they'll reach your territories within 2 Earth years. He nodded to his assistant, who activated the holographic display. Blue stars appeared floating in the center of the chamber, with red dots showing Thranox positions and projected paths. As you can see, Harrison continued, they've already destroyed 12 colony worlds on the rim. Their military technology is advanced. They have something we've never seen before, ships that can phase through normal shields. Karen Williams stepped forward. Her blonde hair was tied back in a strict bun, and her glasses reflected the holographic stars. Our quantum computers have run 1 million simulations. In 97% of scenarios, the Thranox break through current galactic defenses within 18 months. Thijs Vaughn from the Crystalline Empire emerged from his seat. His body was made of living crystal that clinked when he moved. Your primitive computing systems cannot comprehend the complexity of galactic warfare, he said. We have defense grids that were old when your species was discovering fire. Your defense grids are unchanged for thousands of years, Harrison shot back. The Thranox have adapted. They've developed new weapons that bypass traditional shields. We've captured their drone fighters and studied their technology. They're using quantum phase manipulation to— Enough of this fear-mongering, interrupted Representative Kellix from the McLaren hegemony. Their form shifted between various states of matter. The junior species seeks to frighten us into an expensive alliance. How convenient for a species that has minimal defense fleet. Harrison felt frustration rising in his chest. He'd prepared for this resistance, but facing it was different. Look at the data. The Thranox conquered the Vortali cluster in 6 days. 6 days to destroy a civilization that had weather control technology. The Vortali were weak. Zytok waved dismissively with one of his 6 arms. They relied too heavily on their weather shields. Basic tactical error. Then explain the fall of new Corvex, Karen Williams interjected. They had quantum barriers and fleet coordination AI. The Thranox destroyed everything in 42 hours. Murmuring filled the chamber. New Corvex had been considered nearly invincible by galactic standards. Coincidence, claimed Senator Brix, of the Unified Merchant Guild. Or perhaps an inside job. The Thranox prefer conquest over destruction. They leave infrastructure intact. Harrison took a deep breath. That's exactly why they're coming here. The core worlds have the most advanced infrastructure in the galaxy. They want your technology, your resources, your manufacturing capabilities. He activated another visualization. Ships and battle data filled the air. We've identified their command structure. They operate in a hierarchical system with 3 ship squadrons. They use gravity weapons that create microscopic black holes. Their shields regenerate using dark matter, and their fastest ships can sustain 0.8 light speed for 6 months without stopping. Your species cannot even reach 0.5 light speed. scoffed Ambassador Zatak. "How can you claim to understand technology beyond your comprehension?" "Because we've been studying them longer than anyone else," Harrison said quietly. "While you dismissed them as raiders, we captured and analyzed their equipment. We know they're coming. We know they can't be stopped with current galactic defenses. And we know that unity is our only chance." The chamber erupted in multiple alien languages. Translators worked overtime to convert the chaos into coherent debate. Harrison caught fragments. Human paranoia. Seeking military advantages. Primitive fear response. Grand Counselor Vex Nari raised his massive elephant-like trunk for silence. He was ancient, his scaled hide covered in ceremonial metallic implants that denoted his rank. "The human delegation has presented their concerns. We shall vote on establishing a coordinated defense network with Earth." The voting process was complex, with each species granted votes based on their council tier and contribution to galactic society. Earth, as a junior member, had only one vote. The count began. Glowing numbers appeared above each delegation as they cast their votes. Harrison watched with growing dismay as the tally emerged. 247 against, 12 abstentions, 1 in favor. Only Earth had voted yes. "The Council has spoken," Vex Nari announced. "There will be no coordinated defense initiative at this time. The human concerns are noted but deemed premature." Harrison felt like his stomach had dropped out. Karen Williams touched his arm slightly, her face pale but controlled. "You're making a mistake," Harrison said simply. "When the Thranox arrived, don't say we didn't warn you." "You humans," Zatak said with clear amusement. "You always think you know better than civilizations that mastered space travel when your Earth was covered in ice. Go home, Commander. Let the adults handle galactic affairs." As Harrison and his team left the chamber, he overheard snippets of conversation, typical human bravado. Trying to establish military alliances above their station, probably fabricated half their data. Back on their shuttle, departing the crystal platform, Karen Williams turned to Harrison. "What now, Jake?" Harrison stared out the window at the vast space station, watching alien ships come and go. "Now we go home," he said grimly. "And we prepare. Alone." "They'll never forgive us if we're right," she observed. "They'll never survive if we don't prepare," he replied. The shuttle turned toward the jump gate that would take them back to Earth. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its endless debates, unaware that they had just sealed their own fate. In the dark spaces between stars, the Thranox war fleet continued its methodical advance, and only one species in the galaxy knew the truth. The shuttle touched down at Peterson Space Force Base, leaving a trail of heat shimmer on the landing pad. Harrison barely waited for the doors to open before stepping out into Earth's familiar atmosphere. The mountain air was crisp and cold, and Harrison breathed deeply, glad to be free of the recycled alien environment. "Commander," General Peter Crawford jogged across the tarmac to meet them. The old soldier's face was weathered and lined, his hair steel gray, but his eyes held the sharp focus that had made him the most respected military mind on Earth. "I've been monitoring your transmissions." The Council said no. 247 to 1, Harrison replied, his voice bitter. "They think we're primitive children playing at war." Crawford's expression darkened. "Then we moved to Plan Omega. Meeting in War Room 1 in 30 minutes. Full staff." The war room was buried deep beneath Colorado's Cheyenne Mountain, reinforced, with so much concrete and steel that even the most powerful alien sensors couldn't penetrate it. The room was stark and functional, with large holographic displays covering every wall. Officers and scientists filed in, taking seats around the massive briefing table carved from a single piece of titanium. Admiral Lisa Bennett entered last, carrying a secured datapad. She was younger than her position suggested, only 35, but her mind for quantum physics had revolutionized human space technology. Her black hair was cut short for practicality, and her eyes held an intensity that commanded immediate attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," Crawford began, standing at the head of the table, "Operation Quantum Net is now active, We are completely on our own. What's our status, Admiral Bennett? Bennett activated the holographic displays. Complex equations and schematics filled the air. The quantum entanglement network is 73% complete. We've managed to keep it hidden using the asteroid mining fleet as cover. The aliens think we're just desperate for resources. Captain Alex Morgan raised his hand. Sir, the power requirements for maintaining quantum entanglement across light years, it's never been done, even by the most advanced civilizations. Which is exactly why they won't see it coming. Bennett replied with a slight smile. We've solved the power issue with zero-point energy extraction. Our facility in Antarctica has been producing antimatter at unprecedented rates. Each quantum node will have enough power to maintain its field for a decade without recharging. She manipulated the hologram, showing Earth's solar system surrounded by invisible points of light. Each node is the size of a small satellite. They're equipped with stealth plating that absorbs all forms of scanning. Once activated, they create an instantaneous barrier that nothing can pass through. Not matter, not energy, not even light. Dr. Nina Foster, the lead quantum physicist, stood up. Her hands trembled slightly with excitement as she pulled up additional technical readouts. The beauty of quantum entanglement is that distance becomes irrelevant. When one node detects a threat, all nodes respond instantly. We've created the first true instantaneous defense grid. How much of the system remains to complete? Asked Harrison, studying the complex schematics. We need 4 more months to place all nodes and run. Final calibrations, Foster answered. The biggest challenge is the simultaneous deployment. All 8,000 nodes must activate within the same microsecond. General Thomas Blake leaned forward, his massive frame making the chair creak. Blake had spent 40 years in special operations, and his scarred hand showed it. What about the crew? We'll need ships to monitor the grid's operations. We've modified 75 of our fastest frigates, responded Bennett. Each crew has been training for 6 months on grid interface protocols. They know how to manually override individual nodes if needed. Crawford nodded approvingly. And our early warning system? Fully operational, reported Intelligence Officer Kevin Ross. Ross looked more like a college professor than a spy master, with thin glasses and rumpled clothes, but he ran the most sophisticated information network in known space. We have nanoprobes throughout the outer rim systems. They're biological in nature, designed to mimic local space bacteria. The Thranox scanners won't detect them. The probes send real-time data through quantum tunneling, Ross continued. We'll know about their movements before any of the other species. Current estimates show the Thranox fleet at 8,000 ships and growing. They're recruiting conquered species as auxiliaries. Karen Williams had been silent during the briefing, but now she spoke. What's our contingency if the grid fails? We're betting everything on untested technology. Crawford's expression grew even more serious. Dr. Williams, failure is not an option we can afford to consider. But in the interest of complete honesty, we have backup plans. If QuantumNet fails, we have 3 additional lines of defense. He nodded to Bennett, who changed the holographic display. 3 new sets of schematics appeared. Plan B, Project Maelstrom, Bennett explained. We've developed kinetic impactors that can reach 98% light speed. Simple physics becomes our weapon. Mass times velocity equals devastating damage. Plan C, Biological warfare, Ross added grimly. Our xenobiology division has created nanite swarms specifically coded to Thranox physiology. They target their cellular structure from within. Though officially these programs don't exist. And Plan D, Crawford finished, is called Taking the Universe with Us. If all else fails, we detonate hidden zero-point reactors throughout our solar system. The resulting cascade could destabilize multiple star systems. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just planning Earth's defense, they were planning its survival by any means necessary. Begin full implementation, Crawford ordered. All resources are now dedicated to quantum net completion. We have 4 months to save this galaxy from itself. Dismissed. As the officers filed out, Harrison caught Bennett's arm. Lisa, be honest with me. Will this actually work? She met his gaze directly. Theoretically, it's sound. Practically? She sighed. We're pushing physics to its absolute limit. If we've made even one miscalculation in our quantum entanglement algorithms, we'll know soon enough. Harrison finished for her. Over the following weeks, Earth transformed into a massive construction site. Factories worked around the clock, producing quantum nodes. Launch facilities fired rockets daily, sending components into orbit for assembly. The whole operation was disguised as an aggressive asteroid mining initiative. Captain Monica Peterson commanded the stealth deployment fleet. Her ship, the UEDF Shadow, spent its days carefully placing nodes in predetermined locations throughout the solar system and beyond. Each placement required precision measured in nanometers. In underground labs, scientists fine-tuned the quantum algorithms. Every calculation had to be perfect. A single error could cause the grid to collapse spectacularly, potentially destroying Earth instead of protecting it. Through it all, the Thranox continued their expansion. Daily reports from Ross's nanoprobes showed the alien war fleet growing stronger. They had destroyed the Zelwyn system, a civilization that had once considered Earth too primitive to acknowledge. They'll be through the Krillorian defenses in 6 months, Harrison reported during one of their daily strategy meetings. The council is finally starting to panic. Crawford allowed himself a grim smile. Let them. When the Thranox arrive here, we'll be ready. 4 months of frantic preparation passed in a blur. As the final nodes were placed, Dr. Foster ran one last simulation. The mathematical complexity required 3 of Earth's most powerful quantum computers working in parallel. All systems nominal, she announced. Quantum Net is ready for activation. Crawford studied the holographic display showing their invisible, defensive web. And now we wait, he said. Wait for the universe to test us. High above the Pacific Ocean, a message from the Galactic Council reached Earth. Ambassador Zaytak's voice carried across the transmission. The Council acknowledges increased Thranox activity. However, current defenses remain more than adequate. Earth's paranoia is unappreciated. Harrison and his team exchanged knowing looks. The aliens still didn't understand what was coming, and soon they would learn the price of their arrogance. The first reports came in at 0347 hours. Defense Coordinator Ryan Matthews jolted awake in his quarters deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain. His emergency comm unit was screaming with priority alerts. Matthews here, he answered, still wiping sleep from his eyes. Sir, the Thranox have begun their assault, reported Emma Torres from the Night Watch station. They've hit the Krillorian outer rim colonies, multiple star systems going dark. Matthews was already pulling on his uniform. Casualties? It's happening too fast to get accurate numbers. The Krillorians are sending distress signals, but, sir, they're being cut off mid-transmission. I'm on my way to the command center. Wake everyone, priority alpha protocol. Minutes later, the war room buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed the invasion in real time through their quantum probe network. Red indicators spread like a disease across star charts as Thranox forces overwhelmed defenses that had stood for thousands of years. General Crawford entered the room, still buttoning his jacket. Status report. The Thranox are moving faster than our models predicted, Bennett said, manipulating the displays. They've deployed a new formation pattern we haven't seen before. 3-dimensional spherical attack vectors with constant adaptation. The Krillorian Federation's defense grid is failing, reported Colonel Gregory Hayes from Tactical. Their shield generators can't handle the quantum phasing Thranox weapons. It's like their shields aren't even there. On the display, videos, captured by their probes, showed Thranox warships slicing through massive Krillorian battleships. The attacking ships had hulls that seemed to shift between solid and ethereal forms, allowing them to pass through shields and armor alike. The Crystalline. Empire's mobilizing its war fleet, announced Matthews, reviewing incoming intelligence. They're claiming the attack won't reach their borders for months. Fools, Crawford muttered. Emma, open a secure channel to the Galactic Council. After several minutes of bureaucratic delays, a visibly shaken Ambassador Zaytak appeared on the comm screen. Earth delegation, this is exactly the time, Crawford interrupted. The Thranox are doing exactly what we warned you about. How's your millennia-old defense technology working out? Zytok's 6 arms twitched nervously. This situation is unprecedented. The Council is considering emergency measures. How many systems lost already? Demanded Karen Williams. 17 colony worlds, 3 star systems with primary civilizations. Zytok's metallic skin seemed to pale. The estimated death toll is in the trillions, Crawford finished. And it's just beginning. Another council member pushed into view, Representative This Von from the Crystalline Empire. Humanity, we request technological aid. Your warnings were, perhaps not entirely without merit. Crawford's laugh was without humor. Now you... Listen, when billions are dying and your council chambers echo with panic, lives are at stake. This Von's crystalline form vibrated with distress. If Earth has any technology that could help, then request asylum for your people. Crawford cut the transmission. Turning to his staff, he ordered, deny all incoming requests for technological aid. They had their chance. Harrison entered the room carrying multiple data tablets. General, the requests are pouring in. The McLaren hegemony is offering to trade exclusive rights to their energy sources. The Unified Merchant Guild wants to give us commercial superiority in their space. Too late, Crawford said sharply. They wanted us to handle this alone? That's exactly what we're doing. Over the following weeks, the galaxy descended into chaos. The Thranox war machine proved unstoppable with conventional technology. Admiral Lisa Bennett coordinated intelligence gathering, watching as species after species fell to the invasion. The Vorskari Union tried using their gravitational weapons, Bennett reported during a daily briefing. The Thranox adapted within hours. Their ships now generate counter-gravity fields. The Centric Dominion attempted to overload their power. Cors's final strikes, added Ross from intelligence. The Thranox harvest the resulting energy bursts for their own use. Captain Monica Peterson, who had been running long-range reconnaissance missions, returned with disturbing news. I've identified their command structure. Each fleet operates under a war commander who adapts tactics based on encountered defenses. They've essentially turned this war into a learning experience. Their target is clear, Harrison said, studying invasion patterns. They're following the major trade routes, taking infrastructure intact when possible. And they're heading right, for us, Bennett concluded. 18 months until they reach human space. Maybe less if they continue at current speed. The Galactic Council chamber, once a place of pride and power, had transformed into a den of fear. Desperate messages reached Earth's communication arrays. Daily, the Council offers Earth a permanent position on the security board, unlimited resource sharing, technology exchange without restrictions. We'll recognize Earth as a primary galactic power. Crawford refused every offer. They can beg all they want. We prepare alone. In the depths of space, Captain Chad Williams commanded a stealth frigate observing the advancing Thranox fleet firsthand. Using quantum camouflage technology, his ship remained undetected as it collected vital intelligence. The main fleet consists of 8 314 ships, Williams reported via secure quantum channel. They've picked up reinforcements from conquered systems. Military slaves, essentially. Subjugated species forced to fight alongside them. Weakness or threat? Matthews inquired. Both. The slave ships are less loyal, but still dangerous. If we could somehow turn them against their masters. Noted. Continue observation. The invasion continued its relentless advance. Through their quantum probe network, Earth's command structure watched civilizations fall like dominoes. The mighty Scree Empire, with its legendary battle stations, lasted 4 days. The dimensional hegemony, masters of spatial manipulation, survived only slightly longer. President Scott Thompson addressed the world from the Oval Office. My fellow Americans and citizens of Earth, the galaxy burns with war. Species that once looked down upon us now beg for our help, but we do not go to save them. We prepare to save ourselves. Behind the scenes, The quantum net system approached completion. Final calibrations were underway. The last nodes were being positioned by Peterson's deployment teams. In underground facilities across the planet, teams ran endless simulations. Grid efficiency at 99.7%, reported Dr. Foster during a late-night session. The quantum entanglement, matrices are holding stable across all test scenarios. And if we're wrong about the physics? Pressed Harrison. The sleepless nights were starting to show on his face. Then we adjust, Foster said firmly. But the mathematics don't lie. This will work. As Earth prepared for what would come, the Thranox fleet maintained its terrifying momentum. Ships that should have taken centuries to travel between stars moved with supernatural speed. Their war technology adapted to every defense they encountered. They're learning too fast, Bennett observed during one briefing. By the time they reach us, they'll have counters for every defensive strategy the galaxy has ever conceived. Except ours, Crawford reminded her. They can't counter what they've never encountered. The final preparations entered their critical phase. Every human military installation went to maximum readiness. The quantum net nodes were complete and awaiting activation. Backup systems were triple-checked. Contingency plans were refined one last time. In the void between stars, massive Thranox vessels continued their advance. Within their cores, War Commander Vex Rahl studied tactical data from conquered systems. The local species employed predictable strategies, he reported to the fleet master. Their technology stagnated, their tactics ossified. Only one species warned of our approach with accuracy. The humans? A primitive race. Spacefaring for barely a century. They lack the power to challenge us. Then we continue as planned. But, on Earth, in secure facilities and hidden bunkers, humanity prepared for the greatest test it had ever faced. The galaxy had ignored their warnings. Soon the entire universe would learn what humanity was truly capable of. The UEDF Sentinel drifted through the asteroid field, its engines deliberately faltering. Captain Monica Peterson gripped her command chair as Thranox scout ships appeared on her sensors. Engineering, maintain the damage illusion, she ordered. Make it look like we're barely holding together. Yes, Captain, called back Chief Engineer Brian Foster, venting coolant on decks 3 and 4, reading systems failures across the board. The Thranox scouts circled the Sentinel like predators. Around wounded prey, Peterson had been leading this dangerous game for weeks, making her ship appear crippled while secretly collecting vital intelligence. Captain, reported Tactical Officer Rachel Moore. 3 Thranox destroyers approaching. They're requesting our surrender. Let's give them what they expect, Peterson said, activating ship-wide comms. All hands brace for impact. Prepare for tactical retreat maneuver Delta 7 on my mark. The Thranox fired warning shots that shook the Sentinel. Peterson counted down silently, letting the enemy ships position themselves exactly where she wanted them. Her ship's shields flared with artificial failures, sparks erupting from empty control panels for visual effect. Surrender now or be destroyed, the Thranox commander's translation echoed through the bridge. Mark, Peterson shouted. The Sentinel's engines roared to life, pulling evasive maneuvers that barely escaped the Thranox energy barrage. Trading. Carefully calculated hits for distance, her ship limped away at sublight speed. They're pursuing, Moore confirmed, exactly as planned. Back at Cheyenne Mountain, the command center tracked every development. On the main holographic display, the red mass of Thranox ships advanced closer to Earth's outer defenses. Each defeat of galactic powers made them stronger, more arrogant. Scout ships entering the Kuiper Belt, reported Emma Torres. Estimated arrival at Neptune in 16 hours. General Crawford stood perfectly still, watching the red indicators creep across the solar system map. Status of quantum net? 100%. Operational, confirmed Bennett. All 8,047 nodes are online and synchronized. Estimated activation window is operational. Good. Crawford's weathered face showed no emotion. Captain Peterson is performing beautifully. The Thranox are taking the bait. Intelligence Officer Kevin Ross pulled up communication intercepts. We're receiving desperate pleas from refugee fleets. The Crystalline Empire has completely collapsed. They're requesting emergency asylum in our solar system. How many ships? 700 civilian vessels, 2 million beings. Crawford's fist clenched. Every instinct told him to help, but cold military logic prevailed. Denied. If they enter our space now, they'll expose our defensive positions. The moral weight of that decision fell heavily across the command center. These were innocent civilians, but letting them in could doom Earth itself. Throughout the following hours, more Thranox forces poured into the solar system. What started as scouts grew into full squadrons, then battle groups. They moved with methodical precision, scanning everything, probing for defensive positions that they couldn't detect. They're adapting to find our defenses, observed Tactical Coordinator Gregory Hayes. Look at their search patterns. The display showed Thranox ships executing increasingly complex scanning sweeps. Their sensors pulsed with different frequencies, searching for cloaked installations, hidden weapons, or defensive networks. Inside the flagship of the approaching fleet, War Commander Vex Raal studied the tactical data with growing confusion. His tentacles twitched with concern as he reviewed the scans. The human homeworld appears completely undefended, he reported to his staff. No orbital weapons, no shield generators, no defensive fleet. Perhaps they truly are as primitive as intelligence reports suggested, offered his second-in-command. No. Vex Raal's complex alien brain processed the impossible scenario. No species warns others with such precision and then leaves themselves exposed. This is deception. Meanwhile, at the International Space Station, orbital control monitored the advancing threat. The civilian crew, evacuated weeks earlier, had been replaced by military personnel who maintained normal operations while secretly preparing for battle. Thranox's main fleet has passed Pluto, reported Station Commander Michael Foster. Time to Earth intercept, 6 hours. Back in the war room, final preparations began. Every human military vessel had been recalled. They formed no visible defensive formation, appearing scattered and uncoordinated to enemy sensors. Playing the fool card to perfection, Crawford noted with satisfaction. Dr. Foster, initiate final grid calibration. Calibration complete, Foster confirmed. All quantum nodes showing green status. Power cores at maximum capacity. The Thranox fleet surged forward, growing bolder with each passing light hour. Their confidence swelled as no Earth defenses revealed themselves. War Commander Vex Raal allowed his fleet to tighten formation, preparing for a quick victory. The human homeworld will fall before their day ends, he declared. Prepare boarding teams. Take their technology intact. At 1447 hours UTC, the Thranox Armada breached Earth's theoretical planetary defense perimeter. Thousands of alien ships swept into formation, weapons charging for bombardment. On every warship, targeting systems locked onto Earth, its cities glittering with lights that would soon vanish forever. They've taken the bait, Bennett announced. All ships within the grid perimeter. Crawford stepped to the center of the room, his voice carrying to every station. For Earth, for survival, activate Quantum Net. The order transmitted instantly to all control stations. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in the Antarctic ice, in orbital platforms hidden among space debris, thousands of quantum cores blazed to life simultaneously. In space, the invisible nodes that had floated undetected for months suddenly burst into reality. A web of quantum energy erupted across the solar system, creating an impenetrable barrier that enveloped the entire Thranox fleet. The barrier appeared as a shimmer in space-time itself, a prismatic field that bent reality. Every Thranox ship found itself suddenly trapped within a quantum cage that physics had never before witnessed. Shields activated, Torres confirmed. Grid stable, quantum field holding at 100% efficiency. Inside his flagship, Vex Raal felt the engines strain uselessly against the barrier. FTL drives unresponsive, conventional drives at 10% efficiency. What is this technology? His communications officer's voice cracked with panic. War? Commander, we cannot escape. Some kind of quantum field has us completely locked in place. The mighty Thranox fleet, terror of the galaxy, found itself helpless. Ships that had destroyed star systems now drifted powerlessly within their quantum prison. Panic spread through their ranks as they realized their weapons couldn't breach the barrier, their sensors couldn't penetrate it, and their ships couldn't escape it. "They appear confused," observed Matthews, watching Thranox vessels attempt futile maneuvers. "They've never encountered anything like this." "No civilization has," Crawford replied, "because no civilization was desperate enough to invent it." Thranox commanders attempted every tactic they knew. They fired their phase weapons, that slipped through normal shields, but the quantum barrier absorbed the energy harmlessly. They tried to create gravitational anomalies to warp space itself, but the quantum field maintained its integrity. "They're beginning to turn on each other," reported Tactical. "Some ships are firing at their own fleet, trying to blast an escape," wrote. "As we predicted." Crawford nodded. "Fear makes even the strongest army fall apart." The Thranox war commander broadcast on all frequencies, his artificial translator carrying a new emotion. Terror. "What are you? What technology is this? It's impossible." From Earth's hidden command bunker, Crawford authorized a response. His voice projected into space with simple clarity. "You were warned. Surrender your vessels and prepare for inspection, or discover what else we've invented." The greatest war fleet in galactic history, reduced to powerless captives within a quantum cage, had no choice but to contemplate their first defeat. The quantum grid pulsed with captured energy as thousands of alien ships struggled against their invisible prison. In his flagship's bridge, War Commander Vex Ral slumped against his command console, tentacles trembling with defeat. Around him, his crew stared at their non-functional controls in disbelief. "Commander," whispered his second-in-command. "Orders?" For the first time in 1,000 battles, Vex Ral had no answer. The primitive human civilization they'd underestimated had accomplished the impossible. Their entire fleet, 5,217 ships that had conquered half the galaxy, was now trapped like insects in amber. "Surrender," he finally rasped. "Activate white flag protocols." Throughout the quantum cage, other Thranox commanders reached the same conclusion. Surrender signals bloomed across space like white flowers. The war was over in minutes. In Earth's command center, General Crawford watched the surrender with grim satisfaction. "Begin boarding operations. Captain Williams, you're leading the first team." Captain Chad Williams assembled his boarding party in the docking bay. The soldiers wore powered armor with integrated translation software, carrying weapons, more sophisticated than anything the Thranox had encountered. "Remember," Williams addressed his team, "these prisoners still have valuable information. Treat them with respect but maintain absolute security." The boarding shuttle approached the nearest Thranox capital ship. Through the airlock, Williams and his team entered a vessel designed for beings very different from humans. Gravity felt too light, air tasted metallic, and everything was scaled for creatures much larger than humans. Vex Ral stood in his bridge's center, all 6 arms lowered, in submission. Bioelectric patterns on his skin indicated deep resignation. "I am War Commander Vex Ral. My fleet surrenders unconditionally." "Captain Chad Williams, United Earth Defense Force," Williams replied formally. "Your cooperation will determine how we proceed." Back on Earth, President Scott Thompson prepared to address the world. The speech would be broadcast across the planet and, more importantly, transmitted to every star system within light years. The president appeared on screens worldwide, looking confident, yet measured. "Citizens of Earth, and to all listening in, the galaxy. Today, humanity proved that technological superiority comes from necessity, not age. The Thranox war fleet, which destroyed countless civilizations, now sits powerless in our solar system. In space stations, refugee camps, and surviving colony worlds, alien beings listened with a mix of relief and shame. In the crystal platform, what remained of the Galactic Council assembled to witness Earth's statement. Thompson continued, "We do not seek domination, but we demand respect. For too long, young species have been dismissed as primitive, dangerous, or irrelevant. Today, that era ends. Behind the scenes, Admiral Bennett coordinated the massive logistics of processing 5,000 captured warships. Teams of engineers and scientists began documenting Thranok's technology, while security forces maintained order among millions of prisoners. Their shields are completely incompatible with Earth physics, Bennett reported to Crawford. They rely on dimensional folding we can't replicate. But their weapons... She smiled. We can definitely use their weapons. Throughout the following weeks, a new order emerged. The quantum grid remained active but expanded. Working with captured Thranok's data, human scientists extended defensive coverage to protect the remaining galactic civilizations. Senator Brix from the Unified Merchant Guild arrived on Earth wearing robes of deep humility. The Council requests Earth's presence at an emergency session. Where Earth will be offered the Security Council position? Crawford asked without expression. Where Earth will be offered leadership, Brix corrected. Complete restructuring of galactic governance, human methods, human technology, human principles. The delegation to the revived Galactic Council included Crawford, Bennett, and Williams, who had gained respect among even the most proud alien species. The crystal platform, once a symbol of alien superiority, now felt different. Smaller somehow, less imposing. Ambassador Zytok stood before the assembly, his metallic form dulled with age and defeat. The Krillorian Federation acknowledges its error in judgment. We formally request to adopt Earth's defensive technology and military doctrine. One by one, the galactic powers admitted their miscalculation. Thijs Vaughn of the former Crystalline Empire spoke last. We built walls with thousand-year-old stones while Earth laid foundations with quantum cement. We owe our existence to their foresight. Karen Williams, now Earth's Supreme Representative, addressed the Council. Her voice carried the authority of a species that had saved the galaxy from itself. We accept your acknowledgement, but understanding must be earned, not just given. She outlined Earth's plan: technology sharing based on trust, military restructuring emphasizing defense over conquest, and an end to the casual dismissal of younger species. 6 months after the quantum trap, the Thranok's prisoners faced judgment. Most were released to return as ambassadors to their empire, carrying warnings about Earth's true capabilities. War Commander Vex Raal chose differently. I request asylum, he announced, before Earth's military tribunal. My species must learn what we learned too late. War is not evolution. Understanding is. The tribunal, led by Colonel Hayes, approved his request. Vex Raal became Earth's first alien military advisor, helping restructure galactic defense networks, using combined Thranok's and human technologies. At Cheyenne Mountain, the Quantum Net Control Room became the nerve center of galactic protection. Dr. Foster, now Director of Quantum Defense, oversaw an expansion that would protect every civilized system in known space. The grid now covers 2,147 star systems, she reported to visiting dignitaries. Activation time reduced to microseconds, power consumption down by 40%. In Earth schoolrooms, children learned revised history. No longer did textbooks speak of humanity reaching for the stars. Now they taught about the species that warned the galaxy, and when ignored, saved it alone. 5 years after the quantum trap, humans served alongside aliens in integrated defense forces. The Thranok's threat, while diminished, still required vigilance. But now the galaxy faced new challenges, united rather than divided. At the annual Survival Day ceremony, humanity celebrated not conquest, but survival through innovation. President Thompson's successor, President Helen Clark, spoke words that had become tradition. Remember when the galaxy dismissed our warnings. Remember when we built our defense alone. Remember that respect is earned through action, not granted through age. In orbit above Earth, monitoring stations maintained constant vigil. The quantum net had become humanity's gift to the galaxy, but also its insurance policy. The grid could protect or imprison, shelter or contain. Admiral Crawford, now retired, but still active as an advisor, often stood at his mountain observatory, looking up at stars that humanity now helped guard. The species that had once struggled to reach orbit now maintained the galaxy's strongest defense system. The greatest irony remained. The galaxy had gained its salvation by ignoring Earth's warnings. That dismissal had forced humanity to save not just itself, but everyone else. Earth's ships still carried the original motto, "Prepare for what comes, survive what arrives." Only now, the entire galaxy followed that motto. As Crawford watched Earth's moons rise over the horizon, he knew humanity's greatest victory wasn't the quantum net or the captured Thranox fleet. It was proving that wisdom could come from unexpected places, that the newest species could teach the oldest lessons. The universe had changed because Earth refused to wait for permission to prepare, because Earth dared to be ready when others were not. Because Earth remembered that survival belonged not to the oldest, but to the most adaptable. And in the depths of space, the quantum grid continued its silent watch, a reminder to all: never ignore a warning from those willing to save you.